Well, in response to those complaints, President Cyril Ramaphosa has delivered a speech at Sedibeng, basically saying that government is working across all the three spheres of government to address the challenges that are faced by the residents there. My colleague Natasha Phiri has been following proceedings there, and she's standing by for us. A very good afternoon, Natasha. So what was your impression of the president's speech, and how did the community receive it?
Well, very good afternoon to you, Nompo, and of course to our SABC viewers. Listen, just judging by the president's speech and judging by the president's interaction with the people of the Sedibeng district municipality, he was quite happy with the issues that were raised here, Nompo, just saying a number of things, and also in his own words saying that this has been the best Imbizo that he's been with thus far, so far. Remember, this is the fourth installment, Nompo, and we do understand that the next one will be headed to the Northern Cape in the next month. But addressing very critical issues here that were raised by the community here on the ground. Issues of sewer, which is a huge problem. I mean, you have sewage running into the Vaal River, and of course the president saying that that issue needs to be solved. There were a number of other issues that were raised, issues around crime, issues around human settlement. But of course we heard the Gauteng Premier David Makhura saying that 54 billion rand has been invested here in this district municipality, Nompu, by the private sector, and they actually hope to turn this district municipality around to the economic hub that it was. Spoke about manufacturing, spoke about industrialization, and so many other issues. Also saying that it needs to be turned into a special economic zone. Also mentioned a very topical issue, of which this is what we actually addressed the Premier about earlier on this morning, the Growing Gauteng Together GGT 2030 vision. And this now then envisages such programs like the urbanization of the Vanderbijl Park of the Vaal through the Savannah City project, which is a mega housing program here within this district municipality. Also the issue of the establishment of a cargo airport and logistics hub. I spoke about the SEZ just previously, and the investment project. So listen, Nompo, the Premier and the President basically saying that they want to hold investment conferences within this district municipality to bring back money. But also you would know that, Nompu, they also address the elephant in the room, the issue of the Mfuleni municipality, which you know has been placed under administration. A lot of people complaining about that very municipality. And we heard Gauteng Premier David Makhura saying that it needs then to be removed. Government needs to then come into step and change actually this municipality around. So these are just some of the issues that came out from this presidential Imbizo. But I can say in the president's word, he was very happy with how this Imbizo went on. Everything went on time, and of course also concluded on time. So these are just some of the issues that the president and his various ministers have raised. As you know, Nompu, those various ministers will be coming back to assess the progress and the commitments that some have made in regards to what they promised the people in this district municipality. With that said, Nompo, it's been an absolute pleasure bringing you the fourth installment of the presidential Imbizo all the way here from the Sedibeng district municipality in Sharpeville. Of course, I was not alone. I was with my colleague Mbalenhle Mthethwa, and of course the people behind the scenes, the lens, and of course our radio colleagues as well, the likes of Busi Chimombe. With that said, it's back to you in studio.
All right, Natasha, I'm not going to let you go just yet. One of the things that's being raised at this time is that the timing of this presidential Imbizo is quite interesting. Some people saying that this could be the beginning of electioneering. What are your thoughts?
Well, Nompu, not that much. I mean, you would remember that this is an initiative that the president, has been talking about in time past. Not only his State of the Nation address earlier on this year, but last year as well. You would have seen, the presidential Imbizos in the Eastern Cape last year being launched. So really, this is just a model where government actually wants to work, with all three spheres of government in actually addressing the needs of the people on the ground and ensuring that, there's one plan to implement service delivery across all spheres of the government. So one really can't say this is an electioneering tool.
Yeah. And then one last thing, the concept of the district development model, where all the three spheres of government work together. Is this an aspiration, or is it something that's actually happening right now as we speak?
It is something that really is happening as we speak, Nompu. We've been throughout this area through this week as SABC News. Yesterday, we covered a very interesting story where we saw government services being brought to the people of this very district. Instead of them, commuting to town and going to the offices of Home Affairs or UIF offices, we saw government bringing the services to the people of this community. And just speaking to various officials, this is now a benchmark. This is something that government will be implementing in the future. So indeed, just speaking and engaging with the people of this community, they're very happy with that. And, according to some, they really are seeing the services, much needed services that they need.
Excellent. Natasha, thank you so much for your reportage there and the colleagues on the ground. My colleague there, Natasha Phiri. For more on this, let's cross now to Mbalenhle Mthethwa, who's also been covering the story. A very good afternoon, Mbalenhle. Just tell us what you're seeing where you are.
Well, as you can see behind me, people leaving the marquee where they had an opportunity to voice their grievances and unhappiness with the local municipality. Some of the issues that we saw taking center stage were issues of service delivery. We heard residents complaining about issues of sewage that runs in the streets, making life very difficult. Some residents are complaining about the fact that their children play in this sewage water. Issues of electricity also coming up. We also saw Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, also just addressing issues of infrastructure, talking about the damages that he's seen in and around certain communities pertaining to transformers, talking about the need for community members to also protect this crucial infrastructure. The president also echoing those remarks, saying that, it is very crucial for our community members to ensure that transformers continue working, because in the event that a transformer stops working, many residents are affected. Also speaking about the issue of illegal connections, saying that this then contributes to large portions of communities being disconnected, not because Eskom has disconnected those areas, but because of transformer issues and issues of infrastructure. We saw other ministers taking the podium to answer some of the grievances that were raised by residents here. Many issues also, some of them touching on the issue of housing, some calling for the Ministry of Housing and the Department of Housing to fast track the allocation of housing. And we heard the minister also just urging residents not to then go and take up residents in areas that are not suitable for human settlement, saying that this then creates a backlog for the department, saying that when the department has to move or reallocate certain individuals because they've went and built houses or shacks under very unquestionable land, or even under electrical lines, this then creates a backlog where those who are deserving and those who have been waiting to receive a house for many years don't get the house because someone has had to jump the queue. These are some of the issues that have come up. We've also heard issues of policing. We've also heard some business individuals talking about, the need for young people to be involved in the economy. We've also heard about the promise of revitalizing the local economy. We heard the president talking about the fact that acknowledging that unemployment is a huge issue in the area, talking about the fact that manufacturing has really scaled down in the area, which is in part the reason for the high unemployment levels that we see in the area, making those promises and those commitments to develop these special economic zones to try and address that unemployment level, talking about youth unemployment being at 64%, just reiterating the need to try try and address those challenges and that issue within the community. You would have heard some residents complaining about the issue of ageism, saying that because they do not fall within that 35 age group and they're older than 35, they don't seem to be considered for jobs. You heard the president there just saying that that issue will be met with immediate effect and with the urgency that it deserves, saying that the jobs that they hope to create from these special economic development zones will be reserved for all. Also talking about the fact that 40% of government business or government tenders will be reserved for women, just urging women to also just get involved and participate in terms of the tenders and business opportunities that will be opened up to the community in the area. You do understand that, you know, the government is trying to revitalize not only business within the manufacturing sector, tourism, as well as agriculture. You would have also heard the president speaking about cannabis and the role that farmers can play in that area. So these are some of the things that were discussed here, but residents, more than anything, seem to have been pleased to have gotten an opportunity to express their grievances directly to the president and had those various ministers respond to some of those concerns raised by residents. It remains to be seen if, you know, some of these concerns will be resolved with the immediacy that they deserve. You would have heard that the Premier saying that they are working hand in glove with the Department of Water and Sanitation to try and resolve the water issues and water treatment plants within the area. But at the end of the day, time will tell as to when and how long residents will need to wait to get those service delivery challenges resolved.
Indeed. Now, Mbalenhle, Natasha, speaking to Natasha earlier, she mentioned the figure of 54 billion rand having been invested by the private sector. Is there any evidence on the ground of any of that investment having translated on the ground, or any estimations of when some of these projects are actually going to come through such that jobs are created?
Thank you. Well, we haven't heard of any estimations, but what we have heard is the Gauteng Premier David Makhura talking about 7 projects being underway as we speak. It's unclear where exactly. We haven't seen anything. I mean, I suppose we've just gotten off the highway and made our way to the stadium where we are right now. But it seems as though David Makhura, the Gauteng Premier, did somewhat touch on those projects that are seemingly underway. But he also did mention that in hand, sure that, you know, they bring about some of these promises of a special economic zone and those jobs that they hope to create in the process and try and address the issue of unemployment in the area.
All right, Mbalenhle Mthethwa, my colleague there, reporting from the presidential Imbizo in Sedibeng.